Welcome to all our military veterans, spouses, widows, widowers, and family members. My name's John Whiter, and I'm the Hot Springs Village Chapter President of the Military Officers Association of America. It is our privilege and my honor to introduce our guest speaker, the Garland County Veteran Services Officer and retired military professional, Mr. Stanley B. Stanley is the principal provider of assistance and support to the military veterans of Hot Springs Village and will speak to us concerning a wide range of veterans benefits. And in addition to his presentation, Stanley has provided a highly informative Word document with the all-important phone numbers, which we will be able to keep and download for reference as needed. My fellow veterans, I give you our Veterans Services Officer, Mr. Stanley B.
Thank you, Colonel Whiter, General Allred. I'm Stanley B. I'm the Garland County Veterans Service Officer, and I'd like to go over some benefits that veterans and surviving spouses may be eligible for. I will talk about how to file for a claim for disability, what the VA is looking for. I'll briefly talk about exposure to Agent Orange, the new Blue Water law, and the contaminated water exposure at Camp Pendleton. I'll also talk about surviving spouse pensions, DIC, which is dependent indemnity compensation, and things like that. I'll also talk about a new program that just came out last week, and it's the caregiver program that the VA just approved. I'll briefly go over that, and I'll leave a pamphlet on that with the information on who qualifies and who's eligible and how to apply for that. Okay, filing for a VA claim for disability. The VA is looking for three things. An accident or an illness or a situation that happened to you while you're on active duty. You must have a current diagnosis of that disability, and there must be a nexus between that disability and your time in service. An example would be, let's say you were working and you fell off an aircraft and hurt your shoulder. You go to the clinic, they diagnose you that you tore your rotator cuff. You put that, it's in your medical records now. You get discharged from the military, you did your time, you file a claim for the rotator cuff injury. The VA is going to get your records, look at it, and see, yeah, you were diagnosed and treated for a rotator cuff injury, and you file that claim. You had an incident, it's diagnosed, and there's a nexus between that claim and your disability. Exposure to Agent Orange. Vietnam veterans. A lot are familiar with this. I've left a list of what the VA recognizes as disabilities due to exposure to Agent Orange. If you're in Vietnam, boots on ground, and you've been diagnosed with one of these 14 disabilities, you can file a claim for that disability. Something new that just came out last year is the Navy Blue Water claim. A lot of Navy veterans filed for disability several years ago and were denied because they did not meet the law that you had to have boots on ground in Vietnam. Congress passed the law last year saying if you're within a 12-mile limit of the coast of Vietnam, and it's more complex than that, but just a 12-mile off the coast, and if your ship was in that 12-mile radius, and you have been diagnosed with one of the presumptives, you can file a claim. What's important about this is if you filed a claim for, let's say, diabetes 20 years ago and you were in the Navy and you were denied, okay, the Blue Water law was passed. You should have got a letter from the VA saying, hey, you may be eligible to file for this claim again. All you have to do is go to a VSO like myself, file a supplemental claim showing that you've been diagnosed with the diabetes. VA will look at where your ship was at and make a determination on that. It does work. I've done several. I know of two that were awarded, and they were awarded a substantial amount of money because they retro paid back to the date of claim. Also, what's important about that is if you're a surviving spouse of a Vietnam veteran that was in the Navy who died from one of these service-connected disabilities, even if they never filed the claim, you can go back and file for DIC and let them adjudicate to see if you qualify or not. The veteran didn't have to file a claim as long as he passed from one of the service-connected disabilities and he was on one of the ships listed in the VA within that 12-mile zone. You can file. Another claim that a lot of people really don't know about is the Camp Pendleton contaminated water claim. There's a list of presumptives, same as the Agent Orange. They're a little different, but if you've been diagnosed with any of those disabilities and you were stationed at Camp Lejeune at a certain time, and it's listed in here, you can file a claim for that disability. They have paid it. I've filed two, and both have been awarded for that. And that's about enough about the claims. I'd like to talk about surviving spouses, what they may be eligible for, what you're going to run into once the veteran passes, what you need to know, and what is going to happen. So, with the passing of the veteran, everything's going to be stressful. You're not going to know what's going on. I would like to give some pointers, especially to the veteran when they're still with us and afterwards when that veteran passes. The most important thing that a veteran needs to know, or your spouse needs to know, is where is your DD Form 214. That is the most important document a veteran can have. Veterans, please tell your spouse or your loved ones where you keep your DD Form 214. If you're service-connected for a disability, please tell your spouse or your loved ones what your rating is and what you're rated for, and how long have you been, service-connected for that disability. And if you're permanent and total. It's really important that we know this when you come and file a claim with me. It's going to make it a lot easier, and the transitions it's going to be a lot easier. Every year you get a statement of benefits showing, if you are service connected and what your rating is. Be sure your spouse and your loved ones know where that is. Once the veteran passes, it's very important that the family notify the VA that they have passed. There's a misconception out there that some people think, even though the veteran passes, that service-connected disability continues. That is not true. The day the veteran passes, that disability ends. So it's really important to notify the VA of his passing, because if you wait 2 or 3 months down the road and he's still getting paid that service-connected disability, they're going to want that money back. So it's really important to let them know. On the same note, if you're service retired and you're receiving a service retirement, it's really important to notify the Department of Finance and Accounting Services that that veteran has passed. And the same thing is true with this. The very day the veteran passes, that retirement benefit stops. So it's really important to notify DFAS. And I'll give you the numbers and who to call with that. So, to notify the VA of the passing of a veteran, the phone number is 1-800-827-1000. It's all in the brochure that I sent out. This is an automated system, and they're going to ask you what you want to do. Just say, I want to report the death of a veteran, okay? Same thing about calling DFAS. Their number is 1-888-332-7411. Theirs is a little bit more complicated. They're going to ask you what you want to do, and you're going to have to push a number. Just push the option for retirement, and they should be able to hook up with somebody about that. There's also, if you know if the veteran had service group life insurance, you can call them to redeem that life insurance. Their number is 1-800-273-8255. And again, these numbers are in the brochure that I handed out. Most or all veterans want to have a military funeral. Again, the most important document that you're going to have is the DD Form 214. When you're at the funeral home and you want to have a military funeral, you have to tell the funeral director he's a veteran, you want to have a military funeral. You have to produce the DD Form 214. Okay, that's the document that's going to drive the military funeral and to get the honor guard and the flag. Due to COVID, the National Personnel Records Center is very limited. I think they're at 10% staffing right now. They're only doing emergency DD Form 214s for funerals. I'm going to give you a number, but it's the funeral director that has to call this number to request the 214. That number is 1-877-645-4667. And just a little tip, veterans, this is why it's really important to have a copy of DD Form 214. And if you don't have a copy, as soon as this COVID is down to where NPRC is manned again, I would highly recommend that you request a copy of your 214. Burial benefits. Burial benefits can be a little complicated. The VA has changed how they pay. Right now, if you're a veteran and you're service-connected and you pass from that service-connected disability, they will pay you $2,000 to help defray the cost of your burial. If you are service-connected but you don't die from your service-connected disability, they will pay you $300. Other than that, unless you're eligible for surviving or for a non-service-connected pension, they will pay you $300 for that also. If you're a veteran and you're not service-connected for a disability, they're not going to pay for your burial costs or give you any money for that. You will be eligible for a headstone and a flag. And again, you need your DD Form 214. Myself, any VSO can help you apply for that. But again, you would need a copy of 214 and the death certificate. As a surviving spouse, there's a couple of benefits that you may be eligible for. One of them is what we call dependent indemnity compensation. To get this, the veteran must have died from a service-connected disability or have been deemed 100% permanent total for 10 years. In other words, if he didn't die from a service-connected disability, but he was service-connected at 100% permanent total for 10 years, the spouse could still be eligible for DIC. There's not a monetary maximum that you can make. Income does not count. The only criteria is the veteran had to have passed from a service-connected disability. If the veteran isn't receiving a service-connected disability, the spouse may be eligible for what they call a non-service-connected pension. To be eligible for this is based on income. The criteria is the veteran had to serve at least 90 days on active duty, with one of those days being during a wartime period. There are income criteria that you have to meet. I won't go through them right now because there are several. But what I would need would be the veteran's DD Form 214, the death certificate, and a marriage license. You'll call me, we'll make an arrangement, make an appointment, I'll tell you what I'll need. I'll need income information and expense information. And there's a big formula they use to determine what your pension could be. At the end, this new program just came out last week. It's called Family Caregiver Program. It's brand new. In the past, to be eligible for this, you had to have been a post 9/11 veteran with a head trauma and needed 24-hour care. A couple weeks ago, the VA passed a new law, or Congress passed a new law, making it that if you were in the military from May of 1975 past, or from September 11, 2001 forward, you are eligible for this program now. It's quite extensive. I've left a packet that explains the eligibility criteria, how much you could possibly get paid, who can be a caregiver. Right now, the main criteria is you have to be at least 70% service-connected and you have to be enrolled in the VA healthcare system. Again, it's a brand new program for veterans that are needing 24-hour care. So the link to all this information will be on the website that I sent to Colonel Whitert. Look at it. There will also be a video available at the Homeowners Association.